Well, hello and a very warm welcome to BBC Conference Extra Episode 4. If you're joining us for the first time, BBC Conference Extra is a bit of bonus content that's thrown in for free, that's broadcast in some of the breaks of the main conference. We've got interviews, we've got a panel session, we've got a competition and much more besides. It's also a little fragment of the conference which is also being simultaneously broadcast on YouTube. Now what that means is if you've got colleagues who for whatever reason couldn't make the conference this year, you can share just a little bit of insight from the conference with them for free. Now of course if they want to come to the main conference they'll have to buy a ticket, and there are very good reasons why they might do that, or why they should do that. But it's a great way of just giving them a little bit of insight, a little taster, a teaser of all the fun that we're having at the conference over these few days. Now you'll no doubt have noticed that it is a very social conference. I think the conversations that are going on in the app are fantastic. I mean, I know we can't network in person, but there's so much valuable networking going on the app. If you haven't checked it out yet, do check it out. Also remember, it's well worth engaging with the wider community on LinkedIn, Twitter, or your social network of choice. The official conference hashtag is BAConf. That is BAConf with an F. And hey, if you're watching this show, why not tweet some stuff about this show if you like it, which I am absolutely sure that you will. Now we've got so much content lined up for you. This show is about a topic which I am sure is dear to all of our hearts. Whether you are a business architect, whether you are a business analyst, a project manager, a business strategist, doesn't really matter. Data is important to all of us. I'm really pleased to say that we're joined by Lori Silverman. Now Lori is founder and CEO at Partners for Progress. She's an adjunct professor at Golden Gate University, and I've had the pleasure of talking in depth to Lori many times. We've done hour-long webinars that quite frankly could have been 2 or 3 hour long sessions. Lori's giving a spotlight session later on, immediately after this session, which you absolutely won't want to miss. It's entitled, Are You Ready to Step Up? Your Role in Spearheading Decisions with Data. That's today at 10:30, so absolutely mark your calendar for that one. And she's in conversation with Delvin Fletcher of IIBA. But I'm really pleased to say that Lori's agreed to join us today to have a bit of a chat in advance of that. So Lori, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to join you today, Adrian.
Excellent. So at 10:30 today, Lori, you're giving a spotlight session followed by a practitioner session. Why should everyone who's listening to us today attend them?
Well, you know, the past couple of years, actually going back to probably 2015, I've been following the research on whether or not analytics initiatives have been successful. And there's something really striking that's come out of the research. It doesn't matter if the research is being done by Accenture or Click or Gartner or New Vantage Partners, which by the way has been doing year after year research since 2012. The results have been identical, and that is 85% of analytics initiatives are not producing actionable insights. And to me, that's unconscionable. I mean, we're continuing to add tremendous numbers of people and tremendous numbers of resources to these efforts inside of organizations, and they're not producing anything. And so I think we in the business analysis community and others attending this conference need to step back and say, well, why is this? And what's our role in changing it? And that's really what I want to speak about in the spotlight session, which is what are the sorts of shifts that we need to be making in the way that we're thinking, in the way that we're acting, and what is it that we can bring to our organizations so that they can have a chance of having more success, especially when you remember that probably following on the heels of this pandemic, we're about to see, I think, one of the world's worst recessions take place.
Absolutely. I mean, so much to unpack there, Lori. 85%, that's just a phenomenal failure rate. I mean, it's unbelievable and consistent in the research, which is, that's really, really interesting. So I've heard you, I mean, you alluded to it there, Lori, and I've heard you talk about this before, that for analytics effects to create actionable results, we first need to help people shift their mindset. So what sort of shift would you say is necessary?
Well, when you think about, let's just talk about decision making for a moment. People talk about that what they really want is to move from data to insight, and from insight to decision, and decision to action. And what completely confuses me is that every single thing we work on is focused on the data. None of it's really focused on insight. In fact, if you were to say to someone, what is an insight? You can get 1,000,001 definitions of that. And then I'm like, yeah, but what about the decision, and what about the actioning of those decisions, if that decision is indeed correct? And how do we follow through on that? And it's more than adoption. It's the ability to actually change the DNA of organizations. So for me, we need to change our mindset. And that mindset needs to move from saying it's all about the data to being it's all about the decision. What I've started to say, even in the last week, because of all the comments on LinkedIn about an 8-minute video that I did for you.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. All the feedback I've been getting is a phrase that someone used, because I was saying decision-centric, but I really like the phrase decision first. That what we need to do is we need to start thinking about decisions first. It's almost like, I put this up yesterday on LinkedIn. It's as though someone has asked me to dance with them, and I'm data, but data doesn't lead. Data merely follows. And I think that when we make that shift in mindset, which might seem trivial to folks, and it's not, I'll explain that in the spotlight session in a little bit more detail what it entails. It's not a trivial shift in thinking. But when you put on that different pair of glasses and you look at the world, all of a sudden, new possibilities appear. And so that's a piece of what I'd like to share.
Wow, that's really interesting. And just hearing you describe that, and your enthusiasm for it is also, I'm making a connection with lots of other themes that we've heard about in the conference, like business agility, for example. Well, business agility is about sensing the ability to make a decision and respond. And I'm hearing you now, and I'm thinking, but there's a conversation not being had in that business agility discussion about data. So it's interesting how these threads start to weave together. Would you say that business agility is a piece of this as well, Lori?
Well, it's funny. I was giving a workshop a week ago, Monday, to folks overseas in Brussels. So it was one of those where you're up, speaking at 3 o'clock in the morning. And someone said to me, maybe we just need to start calling this agile decision making, and people will listen to what you have to say. And I thought, I don't really care what you call it, because the name doesn't matter to me. But I think that what we have to start thinking about is, how do we help organizations collaboratively make data-informed decisions that help us as individuals to be smarter in what we do, but also help our organizations to become more intelligent and to be able to react faster.
Yeah, that fast reaction time. And I mean, a whole nother topic that's going through my head as we're talking there, Lori, is organizations, but also governments in terms of policy making. And you think about the kind of world that we live in right now, that seems like more important than ever, right? It's an interesting time. So taking all of that on board, Lori, what kind of skills or behaviors do you think that we need as practitioners to make that paradigm shift?
Well, I think that there are two sets of things, and I'm going to talk about this again in the spotlight. There are 3 activities that I'm going to suggest that people do as individuals, because making a shift in mindset is not an easy thing to do, but you can behaviorally implement that. How do you start switching your languaging so that we're not talking about, for example, I said to someone today, why do I have to talk about data governance? Why are we not talking about decision governance? So just making those simple pieces. So I'll talk about that, because each and every one of us who are attending this conference are pioneers. If you choose to embrace what I'm talking about, we are stepping into a new unknown. Now, not for me, because I started doing work like this more than 30 years ago, but certainly for everyone else who may be hearing us today. And then there's a set of steps on the enterprise side, because there's an enterprise core competence. And I think this is why you see the failure rates the way that they are, because we're not focused on how to shift the culture of organizations to embed a decision first mindset and culture. And so we're going to start to talk about what some of those steps are as well. Now, I'll tell you, I could hear BAs saying to me and others who are attending this event, oh, Lori, none of this is in my job description. And I'm like, yeah, so guess what? Here's the deal. I was tapped on the shoulder back in 2015 to start bringing forth these messages. I can't tell you what the force was in the universe that said to me, Lori, this is what you need to be doing. This is your destiny. But for all of you who are listening here, I'm tapping you on the shoulder. And I'm saying that for us to be successful in organizations, I want you to step up to the plate, and I'd like you to assist.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's like a real call to action, a really powerful call to action for us to step up, because the people at this conference, the people with these skill sets, are the right people to fill that gap. And I suppose the question is, if not us, then who? Right. And if not us, then who? Someone will fill that gap, but if they haven't got the right skill set, then that's not gonna have the results. So we all need to take that action. We all need to commit to that action to really step up to the plate. So without giving too much away, because I'm sure people are already looking at the Hoover app, they'll be marking your session immediately after this one so that they can go and attend it. But without giving too much away, can you share maybe one tip or takeaway from your session?
Well, I think it can be as simple as just shifting your languaging. You know, it's not about the data. It's about the decision. So every time you find yourself saying, well, what do I do about the data? Start replacing that word with decisioning. And then say, ooh, what does that mean? What are the implications to the changes in my behavior and to the people I'm now saying these new phrases to? Because it's going to open up doorways to new and different conversations. Again, it might seem like a very small shift, but I will tell you that when you do that, as much as I've been doing these last 5 or 6 years, it starts to become ingrained, and you start to say, I see possibilities where others see none. And that's the first step in stepping up.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, Lori, that's so, I mean, your enthusiasm is infectious. When you were talking about that call to action, I had like a chill down my spine. It's like, it really does feel like a really important pivotal moment for the community. So thank you for taking the time to share that taster of your session. Now, I'm sure as well as attending your session, people will want to follow you, they'll want to connect with you, they'll want to find out more about your books and the stuff you do. How can people stay in touch with you, Lori?
The best way right now is through LinkedIn. So connect to me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation that way. I've been interfacing with a variety of people since yesterday on the LinkedIn app to have conversations about what is it that you're really trying to do and what are you trying to learn and what are some of the stumbling blocks that you're having. The second way is through YouTube. And all of the shows that you and I have done together are also on my playlist called Level Up with Lori, and you will find a variety of free videos, webinars, LinkedIn live shows that I've done with other guests that really start to do a deeper dive into some of the topics that we just briefly touched on now, and that I'll cover in the spotlight and the practitioner session as well.
Fantastic, excellent. Well, I can see that. I can imagine people are reaching for LinkedIn right now to connect with you, Lori. Well, I know you've got to go get ready for your spotlight, so I won't keep you any longer. But thank you so much for taking the time out, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon and seeing your spotlight session.
And thank you so much, Adrian. I also want to do a shout out to you because what you're doing on behalf of this community is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you so much for elevating the conversation. And I look forward to many more with you. Well,
me too. And thank you so much, Lori. That's really lovely. So fantastic. Excellent. Well, I'm sure we'll all agree. I found that nothing short of inspirational. And I think Lori's call for us as a community to action there is something that I'm still mulling over. As so often when I speak to Lori, I have to process the sort of richness of what she's said. But yeah, I mean, if you're not already registered for Lori's spotlight session, do take a look at that. It's going to be phenomenal. I've absolutely no doubt. So before we move on to our next segment, one of the things that we can do, because this is a live show, is we can have shout outs, and Lori very kindly gave me an unexpected shout out there, which was lovely. But if you would like to, if you're viewing this and you'd like a shout out for a colleague, or maybe there's a session you've seen that you'd just like to thank the speaker live on air, or maybe you've got a set of notes, a picture, a mind map you want to broadcast, all you need to do is pop the URL shoutout.link, that is shoutout.link, into your browser of choice. And you can get a shout out to us here at the studio, which is what this next person did. MJ, so hi MJ. MJ says, thanks to the fantastic Jamie Champagne for her discussion about how to use our data. And MJ actually sent a photo in as well of Jamie presenting there. And MJ says, finally, a discussion talking about real life practices and realistic methods being besides catalogue, cleanup, access, and other activities that our stakeholders don't want to hear about. So true. So thank you very much for that shout out, MJ. And of course, kudos out to Jamie there for that fantastic session. If you would like a shout out, do pop one in the shoutout.link form. And that's actually perfectly timed, MJ, because Jamie will be joining us a little bit later in the show. We've got a pre-recorded section from Jamie. Another key thread weaving its way through these live streams is a competition. How would you like to win a 3-day ticket to BBC 2021? Now, we heard in the opening presentation yesterday from Matthew at Rising Media that the plan is for that to be in Florida. Fingers crossed, but whether it's a hybrid event, virtual event, or whether we all can be together in Florida, who knows? But how about having a ticket that you don't have to write a business case for, or get a purchase order for, or kind of beg your manager for? Well, all you need to do is engage with social media. Get your social media gloat on. Every time you use the official conference hashtag, which is BBCConf, that is BBCConf with an F, that counts as one entry when it's on Twitter or LinkedIn. So Twitter or LinkedIn. You can, kind of like bonus points, not really bonus points, but a fun thing to do would be to take a picture of you, maybe watching a presenter, like a virtual selfie, because we'd be doing real selfies if we were really together, right? So Twitter or LinkedIn, use the hashtag. Of course, T's and C's apply, blah, 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 blah. We will choose one lucky winner after the conference closes and get in touch with you via social media. So do engage with that. If competitions are your thing, check out the exhibitors' booths as well. Now, there are so many reasons you should check out the exhibitors' booths. There's a bunch of free stuff. I was looking through these. I keep looking through them. There's awesome stuff. I originally had a list of all the competitions, but it's kind of grown. I think more exhibitors have added them. So the best thing to do is go to the exhibitors' booths and go through them all. There were like Bose speakers. There was Amazon Echoes. There was, Amazon vouchers. Do check those out. It's really, really worth doing. Why not, right? You're at a conference. Enter the competitions if you get the chance. So that moves us on to our next section. MJ wrote in or submitted a shout out recognising Jamie's session. I'm really pleased to say that Jamie agreed to do a bit of a sort of mini presentation or a mini video for us here. Now, Jamie describes herself as an overly passionate speaker and trainer. And anyone who has met Jamie will say that's probably an understatement. She's fantastically, skilled, knowledgeable, but very enthusiastic. You'll know that she works for, or she's founder of Champagne Collaborations. Her website is www.champagnecollaborations.com, and she joins us all the way from Hawaii to talk about data from a slightly different perspective. So, aloha, Jamie, over to you.
Aloha! My name is Jamie Champagne, and I'm so excited to be coming to you today and talking about the excitement, the energy, and just pure enthusiasm I have for the world of analysis today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. To me, it's so exciting that whether your role is a business analyst, project manager, data analyst, cybersecurity, any of these titles where you do analysis work, the world has really opened up for us. To me, it's that opportunity that, yes, the world is changing. It's the question of how you're perceiving that perspective, and were you being forced to change to respond to others? Or are you doing the changing? Are you bringing the insights, the ideas, the excitement of what's possibly going to occur as we keep moving forward? What things do you see on the horizon? And so what I'm really excited, and what I talk about like in the data class and other presentations, is about looking for those opportunities by taking stock and starting where we're at. What do we have? And asking that great question of, so what? So what? I have CBAP certification. Excellent. Absolutely. Very powerful. Makes you get good foundational knowledge. So what? What can I do with that? Where can I take that? With the data analysis discussions and business data analytics, I love the thought of taking our questions to the next level. We can look at what happened and learn from that. Absolutely. That's lessons learned in action. And then we apply it. And then we use it. But when we start asking that, so what? What else? What could happen? What should happen? And we start not only just predicting, but forcing those changes. We create that environment we want to see that happens. Now we are driving the changes. We are the leader of those organizations that push to excite and delight our customers with things they didn't even know they needed, problems they didn't know they had, challenges that we now solved by looking at different perspectives, by pushing ourselves for that greater opportunity. The courses and stuff that we have, in teaching about what techniques and tools, it's great. Here's what's already in your toolbox. Here's what's missing. What else should or could be in there? We think of technology now, absolutely, and the latest and greatest apps. I love the apps. I'm all excited about them. I have passion for learning and trying things, so I try them. I'm not very good the first time, but I try them and it excites me. What I do though is I don't just use what's out there. I start thinking, what do I need? Do I need to create something? Do I need to find someone to create that for me? Or does one already exist? And then also taking those same applications and going, well, what else could I use them for? Could I use them in this manner? Or how about this perspective? Changing that perspective, just changing the excitement energy from a different avenue, that's what breeds innovation. Design thinking to me is a great foundational concept. If you haven't seen before, please check it out and learn about empathy and experience. And do you design an experience? Even virtually, one of the things I love to really enhance that my analysts do is to create experiences. Get your stakeholders engaging and collaborating with each other. You might be the facilitator, but it's almost better if they work together. They create the ideas. They have to build the product. They build the solution. You just keep them rolling. You keep them energized. And can you facilitate virtual experiences? Think about that. When we're doing virtual facilitation and elicitation and review sessions and requirements analysis, are you addressing the 5 senses? Are people feeling reaction to your requirements? Do you present visual images? Do you have great discussion? Do you have food, drink, smell? Do you create that experience that you might be virtual, but we have more power, more opportunity to do even more, to change, to bring excitement and energy and deliver that next world. Drive the changes though by asking that next level question. Ask, so what? Our 5 whys are great foundational knowledge. Take those to the next level. So what? Just because it has happened, should it happen? Could it happen again? And what won't make it happen again? What could we drive to ensure it happens? Or let's drive so that's not even a discussion point anymore. We've gone beyond that because we're onto new products. It's obsolete because we're doing new things, new approaches, and engaging. So find that passion, look into what you have, ask the hard questions, and try to see where you can push to predictive and drive the change. And when it's not just you, but a team, or how about an entire organization, then we are driving positive, impactful, world-changing ideas that deliver value in all aspects of business and of life. So again, my name is Jamie Champagne. Please connect with me before, during, after the conferences, online with my website, Champagne Collaborations, or YouTube, definitely on LinkedIn, and a special shout out and mahalo to my friend and colleague, Adrian Reed, for helping to share and connect our community. So again, this is Jamie Champagne, all the way from Hawaii, saying aloha.
Wow, so many things for us to think about, and thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie, for giving me a shout out as well. So Jamie has already spoken, you may well want to catch the recording of her session, but also her tutorial, and she is giving a practitioner chat on November the 5th, because again, BBC is like bigger this year. It's disrupted because of COVID, but it is bigger. So there's like stuff beyond BBC, and it's on virtual collaboration more than just getting people to log on. So be sure to check that out. So just before we close the session, because we'll want to give you time to get to your dial into your next session. A few more shout outs have come in. Literally, whilst we've been on air, a couple more shout outs have come in. Brandy says a big shout out to the Palmetto IIBA Columbia SC, South Carolina, I think. This is testing my knowledge of the USA, for engaging in all of these sessions. And apologies if I've pronounced any of those cities or names incorrectly. I do my best, though. I do my best. And Lee says, Adrian Reed, thank you for hosting BBC Conference Extra. I have passed on the info to students that I'm teaching virtually at the moment so they can get a taste of the BBC conference and the level of passion for the speakers. So you are most welcome, Lee. It really is my pleasure. As you can tell, I'm enthusiastic about the topic, and it's just great to be able to be part of something like BBC. But do pass the YouTube links on. Of course, the main conference material is just for folks that have, are formally part of the conference, but this is available to anyone. It gives people a glimpse, and they may well want to come in and buy a ticket and see what's behind the curtain once they've seen this stuff. So that really does wrap up episode 4 of BBC Conference Extra. But don't worry, we're back with episode 5 relatively soon. At 12:30, we'll be talking about business architecture, and also leadership for product owners. So set that in your schedule. We look forward to seeing you then. But now it's time for you to switch over and go to whichever session you're attending, which may well be, of course, Lori's spotlight session with Delvin from IIBA. So enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now.